Hello, everyone. This is episode 11, and my name is Adam Szyskowski, and I'm really glad that you're here with me today. So, what we're actually going to be talking about today on our YouTube channel, and we're here with Acorn Life Mastery, and my name is Adam Szyskowski. I am the president and CEO of Acorn Life Mastery. And what we do here at Acorn is we leverage accountability masterminds to develop future leaders. And one of the things that I was listening to today on a podcast from Rascal Radio, if you don't know what Rascal Radio is, I'll put a link down below, and you can actually check it out for 7 days for free. But it's something that's called the power of priorities. And this person doing this podcast, his name was Mark Militello. And what I know about him and some of the things he was talking about, and why I was really inspired to come on today and talk about this, is priorities and getting our priorities straight and getting that so that we can get to a point where we can really start to gain some traction and really start to move forward. And if you think about what your priorities are and you're able to execute on them, you can either not do any priorities and just sort of coast through life, and all of a sudden, before you know it, 5 or 10 years sort of goes by without you even knowing it, before you even realize that, hey, what have I been doing the last 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is? And your life just kind of blew by you. But when you're able to put priorities in place and you're able to really figure out the things that make you excited and you get passionate about and you want to drive after, and you really are living life and not letting life live you, then all of a sudden it's you're going to be that much farther ahead. You're going to feel that much more good. And when you look back 5 years from now and remember where you were in 2020 and what you accomplished and what you did, I mean, it's life changing, and you'll be able to reflect a lot differently instead of saying, what have I done for the last 5 years? I've really done nothing. And that kind of feeling and that kind of it can kind of get you depressed, and if and it can kind of move you in the wrong direction. But you have a choice, and you have the ability right now in front of you to start to get some priorities straight. And for those of you that have heard this, it's going to be like a broken record. I've heard it just not too long ago, and I thought it was a really good analogy. But that whole teacher and the jars and the rocks sort of analogy, where you have a jar, and on the outside of the jar you have maybe 4 or 5 bigger rocks that will still fit into the jar. Then you have maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30 smaller rocks, and then you have a whole bunch of like pebble rocks, and then you have some sand, and then you have a glass of water. And so if you try to first put the glass of water in first, and then the sand, and then the pebbles, and then the smaller, and then the rocks, and then the bigger rocks, which typically happens is you don't have enough room to put the bigger rocks in. And that's what a lot of people do in life right now, is they do things sort of backwards. They look at the things that really aren't going to get them the results that they want, and they try to fit that into their priorities, which is the jar. Where instead, if you reverse that around and you started with the bigger rocks and you put the bigger rocks in first, and those were all your super high important priorities, put those in first, and then you put your next rocks in, and then you put your next rocks in, and then you put the sand in, and then you put the water in, it would all fit into that jar. But we just got to have some clarity on exactly what we want as those big rocks. What are the most important things to you? And if you haven't heard that whole analogy, I mean, it's a really good analogy to sort of look at, to get clarity on you and your rocks. And if you really start to think about it, what are priorities? What does that exactly mean? And why are they even important for you to look at and to really dive into and figure out, you know, what are priorities. And here's how I break it down: is priorities are your vision, your goals, the things that you want the most, the thing that is going to really make you hungry to go after. And when you're able to get your priorities straight, and you see over a period of time, you moving higher and higher and higher up that ladder, that it might not even be a corporate ladder because you might not be in that kind of setting, but the ladder of life success. And you get to define on how your life success you interpret it or how you want it to be, but you get to really determine on how that is going to look. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit on, why priorities are so important, because when you get them down pat, my goodness, they really light a fire under you, and they can really have you going really, really quickly. But there are, if you really wanted to look at anyone, including yourself, including myself, if you really wanted to get drilled down on priorities, and you could look at someone and very, very quickly in three ways, I could tell what your priorities are based on three simple things. So the first thing is, if I, had your phone, or, I had your digital calendar and you were actually using it, which most people don't, but I actually do use mine. I could look at your schedule and tell you what your priorities are based on your schedule. The next thing that I would look at would be the people that you hang around with. That also determines on your priorities in life. And then the last thing is, we could easily look at your bank account and where you're spending all your money. And if you're spending money on personal development, if you're spending money on things that are bringing you closer towards that priority that you want in life, then you're heading in the right direction. But I'm sure if you look at, in my bank account isn't the greatest either, but if you look at some others, I'm sure that you would probably see some fast food restaurants on there. I'm pretty sure that you would see some things that really aren't bringing you closer to your major priorities. And from what I think of most people, what priorities are is, being successful financially, being successful by having a savings account, and being able to maybe purchase a car in strictly cash, or a house in strictly cash. I mean, those things, I think are very important for priorities, because then you don't owe anyone money, you don't owe the banks any money, you own it straight out. And that to me would be a priority, is not to be in debt to anyone whatsoever. And if the only thing you're really paying for is taxes, whether you own a house or a condo or whatever it is, and your monthly expenses that you normally spend, I mean, those would be the things that would be, I would think, should be high priorities in people's lives. And unfortunately, we never got to even be taught that in school. We were never shown that. I know my parents really tried to drill that in. And this is my cat Bella, everyone. So she decided that she wanted to be on YouTube Live today. So she wanted to say hi and hi. Um, so I hope that sort of helps. And if you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and just look at those three things: are, what's your schedule? Who are the people that you're hanging around with right now? Are they bringing you closer or further away from your goal? So unfortunately, you might have to check some of your friends and, make some new friends, or, get into a networking group and hang out with those people more than the people that you're hanging around with, if you're not getting the results that you're looking for right now. And then look at your bank account and where's your money going every month? Are you able to put money away? Are you able to do certain things? I think those would be super high priorities, where you really want to look. And I look at a few quotes that really came to my mind. And, one of them was from Gandhi, and it's very simple: action expresses priorities. So you can talk a big game and you can talk that you've got these priorities, but if your actions are matching it, it is not a priority for you. And I would suggest either you get your actions in check and you start doing the things that are a priority in your life, or you change your priorities because obviously those things just aren't that important to you. So I would highly, highly recommend looking into either end of those two things and seeing how that sort of lands with you. Another really good quote was from Stephen R. Covey, and it said, "Most of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important." So I'm going to ask you and each of you, and if you're watching this live or you're watching it later, put in the comments what's really urgent to you, and what do you not have enough time on doing what's important. So if that sort of resonates with you, this just gives you an opportunity to look at things, and they might be things that come up that require some urgency, but they're not going to get you the results that you want. So really looking at your time, how you're spending it, where your priority is, and after you get the priority straight, you'll be amazed that as you start to complete it, you'll find other ways to still complete the other things that you're still spending time on. It's just that sort of, that jar and the rock and the sand and the water analogy. If you put the sand and the water in first and then try to put all the rocks in, it doesn't go. But if you put the big rocks in first, then the smaller ones, and then the little pebbles, and then the sand, and then the water, you're able to get everything in there all at once. So again, what is urgent is where we spend most of our time, and not enough on what's important. So really keeping that in focus on what's important, what you want, and really go after it like you're hungry for it, like you really want it more than anything. And I'm going to give you 3 simple steps near the end of this talk to sort of help you with that on something that Warren Buffett was actually talking about. And then the last quote that I pulled up here, and I don't even know who this person is. His name is Brandon Sanderson, but it says the mark of a great man, and I would replace man maybe with person, because I guess it was done from older, is one who knows when to set aside the important things in order to accomplish the vital ones. So what they're really saying is there are some important things that need to get done, but are they vital? Are they the most important one right now to get to that end destination of your priority? And that's a question that only you can answer. And if the answer is there are important things, but they're not allowing me to complete or accomplish the vital ones, putting your priorities first, get the big rock in the jar first, complete that, get that done, and then all the other little things will start to fall into place. You'll be able to take it all on all at once because you'll have that priority done. You'll be feeling good. And the other thing that really goes along with that is something that's called self-confidence. So that's going to start to build your self-confidence because you're actually starting to get things done that are really important to you. And then what happens when you get your self-confidence done is you stop second guessing yourself. You're full of energy, you're full of life, you're full of passion, and then everything else starts to come easier. So really, really, really focus in on the vital things, the vital priorities that make you excited, get you just fired up and ready to go. So out of that talk that I was listening to on Rascal Radio earlier today, one of the things that they were talking, there's 3 major takeaways that I took. And this comes from a story of Warren Buffett. And, he was flying around for years and he always had one pilot. And I think the pilot's name is Steve, but just don't quote me on that. And so, Warren would have constant, contact with them and, conversations and different things. And there was at one point that Warren told him to do something and to how to take his life to the next level. And so a few years passed by, and Warren finally one day they sat down and said, "Steve, I noticed that you're still my pilot, and I thought you had other big goals and dreams that you wanted to do besides just fly a plane and fly me around the world, and you had sort of your own thing that you wanted to do." And Steve said, "Yeah, I'm just kind of okay where I'm right now. Like I'm good where everything is." And Warren said, "Well, if you want to go from good to great, you should have taken my advice. And I really didn't expect to see you here as my pilot for as long as you were." So Steve kind of agreed and said, yes, maybe I wouldn't have liked to done some other things. But right now, I am where I am right now and I'm good with it. And so Warren said, well, how would you like your life to go from good to great? And of course, Steve said yes. And obviously, coming from Warren Buffett, we're going to listen when he's talking. So, so what Warren had said, and these were the three takeaways that I took, was number one was what he wanted Steve to do was create a list of 25 things that were important to him that he does not have right now. So write that list down of 25 things that were super important to him that he doesn't have right now. So of course, Steve went home and he thought about it and is writing his list down and he figured out his 25 things, comes back a few days later and says, okay, Mr. Buffett, here's my list. And Warren looked it over and said, wow, this is a impressive list. And, you've got some big goals and dreams and, congratulations. So now what I want you to do is for number two is I want you to circle five things only on that list that are the most important out of all 25 things, and just get it down to 5 things that are the most important. So Steve had a hard time with this, but eventually figured out 5 things and got that list down to 5. And then the last thing that Mr. Buffett said was, what he wanted Steve to do was insanely focus, and the word insanely was used, not laser focus, not focus, but insanely focus on completing those 5 things until they are done. And so Steve said, okay, yeah, I can do that. And, the other, 20 things, I'll sort of just, work on the side and just do a little bit here and there so I don't kind of lose focus. And that's when Warren said, no, those other 20 things, you don't get to touch, you don't get to think about, you don't get to do anything with those other 20 things until you've completed these 5 things. These 5 things, once they're done, are the number one reason why most people fail. They just people don't stay focused enough to complete things. And that's the thing that, differentiates the average person from the above average person or the great person, right? That's the difference that it makes. So once you're done those 5 things, then you're out of the list of 20, you're going to pick the other 5 things that are now that next important. And then so on and so on and so on until you've completed all 25 things. But you can only do 5 at a time, and that's it. So those were my biggest takeaways from this Rascal Radio call. Really struck a chord with me. I am going to actually list my 25 things today. I'm pretty sure I have the list already, and I do have a vision board in behind this my monitor, and those are things that I look at every day. But I want to make sure I have it listed so I can actually see it and I can remind myself every day. And I'll probably do some pictures on those and just kind of remind myself of the 20 things that are the most important, or the 25 things, and then really circle those 5 things until they're done, until they're completed. And I'm going to get insanely focused in on a few things. And I really like the word insanely. If that doesn't resonate with you, maybe the next best word that I can think of is hungry, that you're hungry for something, hungry for your priorities to get it done, and get it done now, not, oh, I'll do it next month, or, start working on it now. If you go back to the Gandhi quote, action expresses priorities. Actions expresses priorities. What are your actions? What are you doing now that are expressing your priorities? Because if you can look in the mirror and you can say, I am like hitting it out of the park every single day right now, like I am just on fire, I'm getting closer and closer to completing this goal, my goodness, you're going to start achieving awesome things. So that's all I have for today. I hope you liked it. Today is November 18th, 2020. So if you're watching and you're watching live, I hope that you can give me some comments. And if not, and you're watching the replay, definitely throw some comments in there and I will definitely respond to them and get back to you. And just remember, if you like this video, to hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel. I'd really appreciate it. We're looking to go really big with this. And so right now we are a brand new company that has just been launched. We're called Acorn Life Mastery, and we're exactly that. So we leverage accountability masterminds to develop future leaders. That's what we do. So if you need accountability, if you want to be in a mastermind, and or you want to develop your leadership skills, you can sign up for free right now. Our platform is free, doesn't cost you anything. I'll put a link down below in the comment boxes, and you can get in for free right now. It doesn't cost anything. Come check us out and see if you like what we're here. And we are definitely connected to lots of different networking groups, and we hope to see you on board. And if you are, make sure you follow me inside the community and reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you and learn your story. So just remember, we're going to be doing this daily at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think that's 11 a.m. Pacific time, if I'm not mistaken. And so definitely watch tomorrow. I believe a really strong person, Amanda, is on tomorrow. She'll be giving a really good talk. And so yeah, I hope you liked everything. So just remember the 3 simple things. Find your 25 things that are high priorities for you. Break it down to 5 things, and then insanely focus on those 5 things until you get everything done. All right, everyone, that's all I have for today. Thank you for your time. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Thanks.